New Zealand rugby is in crisis, and its leadership, particularly Chief Executive Mark Robinson, have been found sadly lacking, writes Martin Devlin in this week's Playing the Ball column. Martin, last week you promised me you're going to take a pretty hard look at this subject, and you've surely delivered. It's quite a piece you've written this week, quite a criticism that you've got for our man Mark Robinson this week.
Yeah, hi Hamish, and thanks again for having me. I've got to reiterate this every single time. It's not a personal criticism. I'm looking purely at the way that the guy is doing his job, and I do think that he's completely out of touch and out of whack. And I saw I was reading some quotes from an interview he did on the weekend, and here's a guy who's done one very controlled interview piece, a very soft interview, and he's talking about positivity and everything's exciting and everything's going well. Well, look, if you just have a quick peruse through the column that I've written here, and these are just things that have happened this year, and they aren't all of the things that I think he deserves scrutiny for. Clearly, that this man, he's the emperor. There are no clothes on. And I don't know how the rugby union can possibly sit there and think that everything is A-OK and the fan base is accepting of the way that this man is running the institution. Look, here's a business question for you. What business are NZR running? If you were asked that question as Mark Robinson is the CEO, how would you describe the business that you're actually running as CEO, Mark? What would your answer be?
Running the sport of New Zealand rugby, ensuring its longevity.
Okay, you see, I would call it that you're in the customer relations business. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, okay, yep.
Okay, so the most important thing in New Zealand rugby is not the sponsors, and it's not the PR fluffers, and it's not the what's the word I'm looking for? It's not the incredible amount of administrators that you've got running around you, who are all your sycophants and everything else. You are a customer relations company. The most important thing is the people that come into your shop, and the shop window is the All Blacks. And I'm not making any of this up. And more importantly than anything else, you've got to want those customers to come back, be repeat business customers. And not only that, but pass on the great experiences they've had to other people in the next generation. Because without the customers in your shop, there is no sport. Without the customers that come through the door, us fans, there are no sponsors. The players are not going to play in empty stadiums. There is no revenue generation in this business of yours, Mark, without you having customers, us. And yet we seem to be, us fans, the last people that you think about. And you say all the words that you think are the right words that you're told to say and things, but none of it is getting through at the moment. And the fact that New Zealand rugby still acts like an ostrich when all of this happens, one of the frustrations for me, reading the bits about that interview was, the CEO coming out and saying that he thought, and they all think it's in their best interest in the last week or so, to go underground and to provide, the framework and the exact kind of opportunities that the players need to perform. I mean, it's just a load of rubbish, mate. Do you honestly think that the All Black players on their way to South Africa feel that the union is behind them? You've thrown them under the bus already a couple of times in public, mate. And what? Because you guys decide to hide away because you can't cope with the idea of answering a few questions, do you think that inspires your employees to go and actually... No, it doesn't. I mean, it's just rubbish is what it is. And this is all easily fixed if you actually just took a realistic attitude to it, listened and actually understood who your customers are and actually started relating to them in a way that normal human beings do. It's not that hard.
You've been covering sport for a long time. Have the All Blacks ever cancelled a press conference like they did the day after the Irish test the other week?
No, it's never happened. And again, I look at that where, Mark Robinson turns around and says, that should never have happened. Again, it's because of the dysfunctionality in the organisation that you're running, mate. So rather than turn around and blame Joe Malcolm for doing it, who, look, professionally probably got it wrong. And I say probably when I know that she did get it wrong. But from a human point of view, I look at it and think, okay, this woman reacted on humanity and emotion and everything else. And okay, sometimes there's no place for that in the business, in the real world, I suppose, is there? But the day that us humans don't actually behave like that and listen to our hearts and have thoughts and feelings, sometimes, I don't know what kind of world we're living in, and I don't want to live in that world. But again, the responsibility of the CEO and a proper leader is to say, it's my responsibility and to protect his employees in public. Behind the closed door, I was going to say tear strips off them. Well, you're not allowed to do that in this world anymore. Behind closed doors, figure it out. But, a week or two later, to still be in public blaming her and finger pointing at her, what kind of leader is that? How does that inspire anyone? How does that actually create trust in anyone? The fact of the matter is New Zealand rugby is in a really poor state at the moment. Hamish, I'm not being a Richard Head by saying this. I had more new Twitter followers over the weekend. I haven't been on Twitter for a year, right? And I just started again. I had more new Twitter followers over the weekend than the full sum of combined spectators that went to the Farah Palmer Cup matches. Now, look, I'm not dogging on women's rugby here, but what I'm actually saying is, again, the rugby union is just so out of whack and out of touch with this. You throw all of this money at the sport, but it's like a government department. That's how it's been run. You throw money at something, that doesn't necessarily mean it's actually going to work and it's going to improve. Where's the marketing plan? I think they're selling women's rugby short at the moment. Where's the marketing plan? Who are your customers that are going to watch? Where is this audience? What are they doing at the moment? How do you intend chasing them? How do you intend getting them? How do you create some excitement and interest so that these people actually want to go in and buy another T-shirt next season? You see what I mean? None of these questions are answered. All we just get is another PR release written by somebody else, the many millions that surround this guy. This is somebody that is probably the worst leader of New Zealand rugby that I've seen. And I go back to Cess Blaze. He used to spit at people like you and me, remember? I mean, that's how he was at press conferences.
Do you think Robinson should go?
Yes, I think he should. I think he should be running the public policy affairs of the Department of Administrative Affairs or whatever it was Humphrey Appleby did in Yes Minister. He'd be perfect for that. Countless reviews, countless reports, faceless consultants. But this is a guy that played for the All Blacks, remember? He played in our jersey. So all these terms about integrity and respect and loyalty, where are they all, mate? You tend to forget them now. You're a high-fluting administrator. Run along and do a public policy job somewhere. You're not the guy that is standing up on behalf of New Zealand rugby and actually telling the world that you're in charge. You aren't that guy. And anyone that tells you that you are is obviously sitting there like the rest of them going, oh, no, the Emperor's got pants on, the Emperor's got pants on. The Emperor's got no pants on, mate.
About the worst time for a South Africa series to be up, isn't it?
Well, again, all of that turns around if the team go over there and win. But that's got nothing to do with the CEO or the administration. That's absolutely down to those players and that coaching staff and whether they can actually get them into the place that they need to get them to at Nelspruit on the weekend. Sport is about one thing. It's about winning. And when you win, it covers up a lot of other things, doesn't it?
Martin, thanks very much for your time.
Always.